Welcome back to Court TV Live. We're watching the case of the state of California versus Kellen Winslow II. The lead detective in the case is on the stand right now talking about the evidence that he gathered when he was brought in after learning about the complaint of forcible rape by Jane Doe number 2. Let's listen back in.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Showing you what's been marked as Court's Exhibit 91 for identification. I know it's a little washed out when we're looking at it in a well-lit courtroom, but are you able to see that writing that's on the right leg area of the bicycle shorts?
Well, again, I see it there, but I don't see it any more clearly than I see it on the digital screen up top.
So, Detective Johnson, have you reviewed the actual video that shows that contains these still images?
Yes, on the video it's clear because with the movements and such, you can actually make out the words better.
Does it say Strava?
Yes.
Showing you Court's Exhibit 92 for identification. Does that show Mr. Winslow at least attempting to place an item into his backpack area?
It's what it looks like. The small of his back has pockets, and he's reaching back there.
And what type of shoes is he wearing?
Well, they're what I call bicyclist shoes in that there appears to be a little mounting disc or block under the front of the shoes, and typically those, in my experience, lock into pedals on higher-end bikes or with more serious bicyclists.
Showing Court's Exhibit 93 for identification, does that show Mr. Winslow now with his back turned?
Yes.
What does he have on his back?
A backpack.
Showing Court's Exhibit 94 for identification, does that show Mr. Winslow now stretching towards the right?
Yep.
And showing you Court's Exhibit 95 for identification, does that show Mr. Winslow stretching to the left?
Yes.
And are his tattoos visible in these different photographs?
Throughout the different photographs, there's tattooing that's consistent with the tattoos that I've seen Mr. Winslow with in other environments, yes.
Now, in addition to the GoPro video, is it fair to say that there are a number of, in addition to this GoPro video, are there a number of different videos that were downloaded that show Mr. Winslow riding his bicycle in different areas that are in North County, San Diego? We'll just describe it that way.
There's a number of videos that depict North County, San Diego that seem to be a bicyclist riding through these areas. In some of the shots, I can see a reflection from a window or such that appears to be Mr. Winslow, but the presumption is that he's riding his bike. But
now, in addition to that, we talked about the DVR of the surveillance system. Did you have an opportunity to review the footage from March 17th of 2018?
yes.
Showing you Court's Exhibit 96 for identification. Do you see what's depicted there?
Yes.
Can you describe first the date and time stamp that was contained on the video footage that was downloaded from that DVR of the surveillance system?
In the still shot, it appears to be March 17th, 2018. It looks like it says SAT. I assume that's a Saturday. And the time is more difficult. There's something 32.
Is that 02, 32, and 33 seconds p.m.?
Oh, it's p.m., so it's 02. So that'd be, yes, 2:32 in the afternoon.
And can you just describe what it shows?
Well, I've watched the video, so it's clear, but the picture is Mr. Winslow walking out from the house area. The video system appears to be motion activated, so at some point it begins recording, and it shows him walking towards the garage area wearing his workout type clothes, so the white shoes, some shorts, and a dark shirt.
Showing you Court's Exhibit 97 for identification, does that contain a video, that, again, from this motion-activated surveillance system with another date and time stamp?
Yes, that would be March 17th, 2018, and now we're looking at about 2:33 in the afternoon, and we see the H2, the Hummer, starting to drive out of the compound.
Did that Hummer actually reverse out of the garage area and leave the compound.
On the video, yes.
And now showing Courts Exhibit 98 for identification. What is the date and time stamp that's seen here?
And now we have the same date, March 17, 2018, but the timestamp is 4:52 p.m. and it shows the H2 re-entering the compound from the street area.
Based upon your review of the data that was available on that DVR, did you see Mr. Winslow at the residence in that location or the Hummer H2 at the residence in that location at any time between 2:33 and 4:52 p.m.?
Between those times?
Correct.
No, it appeared he was gone.
Thank you. Nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
All right, Cross?
Thank you, Your Honor. Detective Johnson, you sat in the interview with Jane Doe 2 at the SART exam, is that right?
Most of it, yes, sir.
Yeah. Those SART exams are very important, right?
I think so, yes.
Okay. And when you listened to the interview, you saw the SART nurse speaking with Jane Doe 2, right?
Yes,
And Jane Doe 2 was telling what happened, right?
yes.
And she never said, in fact, what she did say was, they never had any conversations about sex, isn't that right?
Prior to that evening, correct.
So at that SART exam, she told the SART nurse and you, as you were sitting there, that Kevin and her never had any conversations about sex, right?
Prior to that evening, correct.
Right. And in fact, the first time you heard about Jane Doe 2 saying that they did in fact have conversations about sex and money was right before the preliminary hearing, isn't that right?
Yes,
That was the first time you ever heard that, right?
that'd be correct.
So all the other detectives that she spoke with, she never brought that up, right?
No, I don't believe it ever came out. It certainly would have been something I would have noticed.
Right. And so the first time you hear it is right before she's about to testify for the first time under penalty of perjury, right?
I want to say I'm not sure how it was communicated to me, but that would be the time frame, correct?
Right. You did hear Jane Doe 2 say she described the sex that occurred, is that right? She described the sex
Yes,
to the SART nurse, and she described vaginal intercourse, is that right?
yes,
And then when she talked about anal contact, she said, quote, she thought that was an accident, right?
she thought it might have been an accident. She didn't know, yeah.
Right. And you documented that in your report, right?
Oh, yes,
And you actually put it in quotes, right?
I put, yes,
And it's important that you put it in quotes because that's actually what she said.
that'd be correct.
So she thought the anal contact was an accident.
That's what she said.
Right. She described the choking to you, right?
Yes,
She said he had both hands around her neck for approximately 2 minutes.
her words, yes.
Right. She said that she would have been dead had he done it any longer, right?
I believe so, yes. She was concerned about that, yes.
Right. Did she ever tell you or anyone else that she thought that he did it in a way that it wouldn't leave marks?
I don't recall that statement, no.
Have you ever heard that statement?
I don't believe so.
Okay. You showed Jane Doe 3 the photo lineup, right?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And she did not identify Mr. Winslow, did she?
She did not.
She told you that she'd seen the suspect twice total.
That'd be correct.
And she spoke with him both times, right?
Yes,
And she specifically said that none of the photos that you showed her were the suspect, right?
well, that's correct.
Okay. And the tattoos that we saw in Courts Exhibit 43 of Mr. Winslow's arms, the tattoos, yeah. None of those tattoos are blue, are they? They're the standard tattoo green, right?
I'd call them darker. I'd even call them black. If you like green, that's better too. They're not. I don't see blue now.
Right, you see a little orange,
Yes.
and you see a little very, very light green, right?
I think there's some yellow and green in there. Yeah.
Okay. And the rest of the tribal tattoo is the standard, what we call tattoo green, right?
It's all one color. Yes.
Now, you said that you saw some surveillance where Mr. Winslow got his car washed, right?
Yes.
Now, that what occurred actually 3 months after Jane Doe 1 allegedly bled all over his car, right?
About 3 months. Yes.
Okay. And, well, people with nice cars get their car washed, detailed, right?
I think so. Yeah.
And did you interview the detailer to see how often he would come out to the house and detail the car?
I never met the detailer. I never identified him. I never spoke with him. It might have been very consistent. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. And did any of you or any of your agents ask the detailer, did he clean any blood out of the car?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Did they ask him, did he clean any bodily fluids out of the car?
None of them spoke with him.
Okay. And just so we know, technically you can't really clean blood out of a car or any object, right? Because luminol can still show that there was blood there, right?
Objection lacks foundation and calls for speculation.
If you know.
Overruled, you can answer if you know.
I know in my training, we don't use luminol, we use Blue Star, I found out. In my training, the RE agents that they use can frequently bring out blood that's been washed down, covered up, painted over, and then at other times we've had it not show up blood at all that we knew was there. So I probably a more expert person would answer that better for you.
And, but you or none of your agents went and questioned the detail guy, right? The car washer.
That's why I said yes, sir.
Okay. Did you ever talk to the man that you saw take the car? You said that he drove off with I forget what court exhibit it was, but you said there was a man who ended up driving the Hummer away and you never saw it again, is that right?
I didn't see it back at the house, but a man drove it away, yes.
Uh-huh. And you spoke to him, you realized that he's a licensed car dealer, right?
Oh, I didn't speak to him. Two other detectives spoke with him.
All right, and they found out that he was a licensed car dealer, right?
I didn't verify a license. Based on conversation, I believe he deals in cars on a regular basis.
In fact, he was the man that gave Mr. Winslow the car, right?
You are watching
I
the
didn't
cross-examination of the lead detective in the case of the state of California versus Kellen Winslow II. 5 Jane Doe accusers in this case. We've heard from 3 so far. We could hear from number 4 today. It remains to be seen. Stay with us. Court TV Live. We're taking a quick break. We're back with much more for you after this.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm going to show you this photo, which is going to be court's exhibit number. Next in order.
Oh, has it not been marked yet?
No, it has not.
May I give that court's exhibit number 115?
115. I'm going to show you court's exhibit number 115. Do you recognize the people depicted in this photo?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Do you recognize that being at the preliminary hearing?
I believe that's at the prelim, yes.
Okay.
Or one of the showings.
Oh, well, the record's going to reflect, you're showing it to him on a tablet. Do we have a hard piece of paper that has the photo on it so we can actually mark it?
It's a good question.
Or do you just want to mark your tablet?
No, we're gonna.
Or can you?
117? Okay, correction, Your Honor, for that exhibit that was just presented by Attorney Watkins, that will be Court's Exhibit number 117.
Okay, and that was the one you showed the witness, correct, Mr.
Yes, Your
Watkins?
Honor.
Okay,
With the court's permission, we do have it loaded up to show the jury. We could get a hard copy.
That's fine.
Back to later. Thank
you can provide a hard copy later. Do you want to put it on the screen or not? Okay, so this will be Court Exhibit 117.
Now, that's Mr. Winslow at the preliminary hearing, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Is his head shaved, like Jane Doe 1 said?
No, his head's not shaved, no.
And you were there present at that preliminary hearing of Jane Doe 1, right?
I was there for the prelim where Jane Doe 1 testified. Yes, I was.
And that's how Mr. Winslow looked that day, right?
Yes.
With his hair exactly like that.
Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, any redirect?
Not at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, is he your investigating officer today?
If he may be, yes, thank you.
All right, so you can resume your seat at council table. All right, next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The people now call Angela Rosa.
All right.
He has a bunch of videos.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. Thank you for being with us on this Tuesday afternoon. Defense just wrapped up their cross-examination of the lead detective in the case. Now the prosecution has called their next witness today, who is Angela Dozier. Let's listen back in live.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
My apologies, Your Honor. Ms. Rosa has stepped aside, so the people would now call Brandy Silverthorne.
Okay.
You do solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give in the matter now pending before this court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? If you would, please have a seat at the witness stand. And if you would, please state your name and spell your first and last name for the record.
Brandy Silverthorne, BrandySilverthorn.
Thank you.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
All right, direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Silverthorne.
Good morning.
Can you tell the jury what you do for a living?
I am the Senior Forensic Evidence Technician with the San Diego Sheriff's Department.
How long have you worked with the San Diego Sheriff's Department?
I've been with the Sheriff's Department since 2011.
Can you tell them what your duties include?
My primary responsibility is the identification, preservation, documentation, and collection of evidence at crime scenes. If I'm not doing those duties, then I also do latent print development on items of evidence in the lab.
Are you actually a fingerprint technician that allows you to be able to do comparisons?
I do not do the comparisons.
What do you mean when you say that you work with fingerprints?
So I do latent print development, which means on items of evidence that are collected from the crime scene. I will process those using different techniques to try to develop prints that may be present on an item of evidence.
Are you a criminalist?
I am not.
What is a criminalist?
A criminalist is a scientist in the lab. They have a 4-year hard science degree in chemistry or biology, something like that. And they do the analysis of the work that we bring in, the evidence that we bring in. So an example would be a DNA analyst, a firearms examiner, something like that.
So you, as a senior field evidence technician with the Sheriff's Department, is it fair to say that you would then respond to a location in order to properly seize and secure and identify and itemize all the various things that are being collected in the course of the investigation?
That would be correct.
Were you in fact assigned to the investigation into a sexual assault that had led to a search warrant that was being executed in the 1300 block of Lake Drive on June 14th, 2018?
Yes, I was.
Prior to that point in time, had you participated in the investigation with the sexual assault unit in any capacity?
I had not.
Can you just tell the jury in terms of what you were then privy to at that point? Were you asked to conduct a walkthrough first of all of the items that were being identified by various members of law enforcement?
Yes, so during that day, I was asked to attend a briefing prior to the execution of the search warrant. And then once the search warrant was executed, I responded to the residents and assisted with that search warrant. In doing that, I took photographs of the residents. We call them overall photographs of the entire residence before a search was conducted. And then working with my partners on the law enforcement side, the detectives and deputies conducted a search, identified items of evidence, and we identified those items with yellow placards so that I could take additional photographs of where those items were located.
And did you do that on June 14th?
Yes.
And when you say that you're working with your partners that are the law enforcement officers, is it fair to say that it's a team effort in terms of locating something that may be of interest in the case and documenting where it was located?
That's correct.
Can you just explain to the jury how that happens? Is it basically a detective walking along saying, hey, what about that?
Yes, in this case, we had a large area, and so what we had decided as a team was the detectives and the deputies would take a yellow placard and they would conduct a search in a particular area. If they identified an item of evidence that they felt may or may not be relevant, they wanted to collect it, they would lay the yellow placard next to the item that they wanted collected. I would then come into the room and take additional photographs of that item before it was packaged and collected.
Now, in terms of the